Okay, I've got something for you. The new parts have been fitted to the car. The simulation numbers are good, so look forward to your feedback.
You want to know my feedback, Chris? I'll give you some feedback, mate.
It's time to go! Get him up, fam. Get him up, blood.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 Career Mode, episode number 58 today for the Mexican Grand Prix in Season 3, and we arrive here with two brand new parts fitted to the car. Obviously, the minor engine upgrade, and then the major tyre wear update to the chassis side of things for our car. Of course, we had to spend 500 and 600 points, respectively, last episode to repair those after those failed, so Chris brought the good news this time around, but that's still not really going to change too much on the fact that I'm still firmly in the Chris out camp. But anyway, we're going to move on, and I think that these are probably going to be our last updates of the season, to be honest, because we've not got too many points left, you can see in the top right, and we've only got 2 rounds left, so I don't know, there may be room for one more upgrade, we'll see, but I highly doubt it. But our car's in a very decent position, of course. I think the chart doesn't really give the full story. It says we're just on level terms with Force India, but the chassis weight reduction really did benefit our car hugely. I can feel it in the corners for sure. And this tyre wear update, well, I'm curious to see how much the tyre wear is going to be reduced. I mean, if the chassis upgrade is anything to go by, the major upgrades really do kick in quite a bit. Obviously, the drag reduction we had earlier on in the season was a huge aid at places like Spa and Monza. So I'm curious to see how big of an effect it's going to be to help us challenge that man right there that went past the screen, Sebastian Vettel, and how much it will aid this man, Nico Hülkenberg, and myself in our banana-coloured Renault car for the 3 remaining rounds. So we go through the practice programs, trying to eke out the last few resource points. As I said, of course, there might be room for one more upgrade, so may as well go out and do those practice programs to the max to get the maximum points and just get used to the Mexican Grand Prix circuit. Obviously, the last time we came here, it was a bit of a tough Grand Prix. Actually, the entire time we've done the Mexican Grand Prix in this career mode, it's been a tough old time. So here's hoping the kind of third time lucky phrase can come into play here, and the third time of coming here to the Mexican Grand Prix. Hopefully, we can have a much better Grand Prix. But we can see our new rival now is Valtteri Bottas. So for the first time this season, we've been given a top flight candidate for our new rival. We haven't ever got a Ferrari man or a Mercedes guy. Of course, we've been in the hunt with the Mercedes and Ferrari this entire season, but the entire time we've had Esteban Ocon and I think it was Felipe Massa and just other random rivals that weren't anywhere near us in the standings. So the first time we've got a rival that you must say maybe is more realistic of a choice compared to where we are in the standings. So we move into Q1 then. It's all sunny skies. I say that and pick that out because it is actually going to be raining later on today on Saturday, probably for Q3, so we'll have to see how that goes. But really good Q1 for both myself and Nico, up in P3 and P4, looking very, very strong. But of course, as I've said a few times before, I really do think that the top teams don't go up into the maximum fuel mixture until later on into Q2 and Q3, so maybe just a little bit of kind of false hope there. That would be right up there in P3 and P4. But we move into Q2 then, we're onto the set of super soft tyres. So like we have done before, we're going on that set of middle tyres, that middle soft tyre, and going for that kind of potential, well, I would say one stop, but it's not going to be a one stop here in Mexico. We tried it last season, didn't quite work out. In theory, we could go for it this season, perhaps with the tyre wear upgrade, but I'm not going to risk it. So it's going to be a 2-stop, but I think most of the AI cars may go for a 3-stop. So this strategy of using the super softs is still going to come into handy. And as we go through the end of the session, I was actually fully prepared to maybe go into a set of ultras and kind of bum the strategy off because I was only in P7. But you can see as we go through the timer, not many improvements for too many people. And actually, the surprising thing for me as we look at this timing sheet is that Sergio Perez set the fastest first sector of that session. So the Force India car, at least in Perez's hands, are absolute rocket ship in that first sector down the main straight and then the little back straight as you go through the first few corners. But Hülkenberg doing a great job there in P5. You would imagine obviously that delta time difference would be there from the soft tyres, super soft tyres to the ultra softs, but Hülkenberg better than best of the rest, overtaking both Red Bull cars, and both Red Bulls, as you would maybe imagine, not doing too well, being out-qualified by Perez as well. But Vettel looking very strong indeed, by a couple of tenths ahead of Raikkonen. So we're going to have to kind of buck up and pull up our socks a little bit in Q3. But as I mentioned, there is some rain to come. So as we go into Q3, the rain was actually starting to come down already. So we're going to go straight out onto the set of ultra soft tyres, not really waste any time at all, and try and put in a lap time straight at the start of the session. It's not even going to be a banker lap time. It's probably going to end up being our fastest time of the session. As you can already see as we go down the main straight, the droplets of rain are already coming down. You can see on the track surface, it's got that sheen already to it on the racing line. So it's already going to be a case of basically whoever pops in the best time in these very tricky, changeable conditions is probably going to end up on pole position. So we even have a chance maybe for pole as we go wide on the double right-hander, but I imagine everyone's going to go wide in those right-handers, especially to those sections in the middle sectors. We come through the last few corners now, a little bit opposite lock, kind of trying to dance the car through now the last few corners, and we're catching up to actually Valtteri Bottas, I think that is, at the moment. Raikkonen on pole position. We come across the line for P3 at the moment. Not too many people set a lap time yet, but as we move through the session, as we come in just narrowly, straighten up the car to come into the pit lane, we're still in P3, and it looks like it's just far too wet now for anyone to improve on the slick tyres. And if they go on intermediates, well, you would imagine that no one's going to be improving on intermediates compared to even a damp, slick tyre kind of lap, especially for sure at the very start of the session. It was dry enough. It just got wet halfway through that lap for me personally as well. And then as we end out this session, no one actually comes out for another lap there. We saw on the live feed, completely empty track, so everyone set one lap only on those ultra softs when the track was already damp at the start. And it does mean we actually do finish up in P3, a legit P3, without even having to take into account any engine penalties. Sebastian Vettel down in 4th place behind us, and obviously, as I just mentioned, I don't know if he's going to have an engine penalty. Maybe Ricardo Raikkonen may do as well. The same could be said for any cars behind us as well. Nico Hulkenberg in P7, so hopefully he can get elevated for the start of the race. But P3 for us minimum is going to be absolutely wonderful for us, and already ahead of Vettel, so there's no even questioning that we're going to start ahead of him. So, you know, we can see from the last episode, the USA Grand Prix, you know, when we're able to stay ahead of Vettel, we're able to keep him kind of at bay and keep him a bit humbled, basically. So, I'm going to have to play this a bit tactically once again. I mean, you know, we've got 3 races left. We've got 3 points left in it. I think best really is to play this not too aggressive and honestly just play it tactically and do kind of an Alan Prost kind of method, just the slowest kind of minimum we have to do to make this work. Because now we've got, you know, obviously we've got a little bit lucky, hugely lucky with a few miracles in the last couple of rounds, winning 2 races on the trot, obviously, and Vettel having a few mistakes and some bad luck, being hampered by traffic. And so now we're in a position where we can play this a little bit more smart and kind of calm to make sure we actually get this done, because I really, really want to try and get this. You know, I don't think it comes across maybe, but, you know, if we could get this championship done and booked in Season 3, you know, the second season only with the Renault car, I would be infinitely much happier. So, you know, we've got 3 points to go, 3 rounds to go. Let's try and see what goes on in this race then. Let's go for the full grid, and then we'll get into this race.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. It was a good showing from Red Bull in qualifying, and Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position, and a Renault alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg, and Raikkonen, Verstappen, Hamilton, Vettel, and Sergio Perez, Magnussen, Grosjean, Felipe Massa, and Sainz, Alonso, Stroll, Marcus Ericsson, and Pascal Wehrlein. Van Dorn and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So it's going to be a front row start for us for the Mexican Grand Prix as both Ferrari cars dealt penalties there. Sebastian Vettel down in P9 for the start of this race. So that's absolutely wonderful for us. And for the first time since the Canadian Grand Prix of last season, we have a completely clear view ahead of us when we start this Grand Prix on the front row alongside Daniel Ricciardo in P1, then inherited P1. Of course, Raikkonen down a little bit down the order, but not too much compared to Vettel. But we're going to change that strategy round. It is going to be a 2-stop using 2 sets of super softs, but I've just made it a bit more mirrored, essentially. It was kind of skewed towards the end of the race, going a little bit longer on that second set of super softs. So I've just kind of mirrored that, so it's kind of equal 13 laps apiece on either side of that middle ultra stop stint. Once again, going to fuel up the car, but not too much, because I want to save my wear of the MGK and H for the last 2 rounds. But here we go then to the Mexican Grand Prix, as we go to 5 red lights, then with 3 rounds to go. Can we take the championship lead this race? Let's find out as we're underway. The lights have gone out, and it's a great start there for Daniel Ricciardo, but an even better one for Valtteri Bottas, shooting up like a rocket ship in that silver arrow of his up into first place. We get a slipstream though of Daniel Ricciardo. We go to the middle of him and Valtteri. Into turn 1 we go. I don't know where Ricciardo is. We've gone deep to let Ricciardo the room. We banged tires with Valtteri. Ricciardo's still there on the inside, and somehow he's made it work and squeeze through, but he's compromised his own line, and we take a tighter exit, and we're up into P1 then. So that actually worked out beautifully. Us giving the room to Ricciardo helped us actually make the overtake on both those cars then. So a bit of karma there for us in terms of that. And you can see behind us on the replay camera there, Esteban Ocon now on the top left has successfully overtaken Ricciardo, and he's up into second place. So how do you like that? That's a very odd 1-2. Myself and Esteban Ocon in first and second. Actually, Ocon and Ricciardo go side by side on the next few corners, but Ocon does eventually get it. There's around the outside he goes into the S section. So Ricciardo did actually try his best to hang on to P2, but in the end, Ocon is up there. And Alto Sergio Perez with a really good start. He's actually going to try and attack Valtteri Bottas into that next corner. He's actually gone down the inside. He's up into P4. So the Force Indias looking like they've got some great pace. Of course, it's Perez's home Grand Prix, but his teammate's the one that's taken the lead and taken the charge in P2. Meanwhile, as we move on to the end of lap 1 onto lap 2, it's Vettel being hampered by his teammate there. Raikkonen's had a really poor start, and he's only now overtaking Vettel, and Vettel really struggling in this Grand Prix. Now he's got the Haas of Romain Grosjean. That's actually going to try and go overtake him round the outside. They'll go side by side into the next stadium section, as Vettel's still trying to maybe hustle and harry his teammate Kimi Raikkonen, but Vettel way down the order, obviously starting P9, and he's not really made any progress so far. My teammate's ahead of him still, so that's really good news for us and a really good sign. So as we move on to the end of lap 2, then it's myself from Esteban Ocon, then Daniel Ricciardo still in P3, followed by Sergio Perez. But down this main straight, things may change. We set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but we've got a heap of fastest laps, and Perez is fastest of all. So the Mexican man is on a charge here at his home race to maybe try and come up in battle for the lead of this race. Meanwhile, his teammate has overtaken us for P1, but we dart it back down the inside of the Frenchman. Lock up on the right tyre. He's done the switchback move on us, so he'll take it around the outside for turn 2, then that will be, and turn 3. And he's up into the lead of this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Ricciardo now having a look, but if we look behind us, Perez not too far behind, and so that fast lap of the Grand Prix has seen him really kind of catch up to all three of us now, and so this may be a four-way scrap for the lead, and it may not even include a Mercedes or a Ferrari car, which is such an awesome thing to say, really. As now we move on to look at Sebastian Vettel. He's overtaking, or trying to overtake Hulkenberg, I should say. Looks like he can get it done now into the stadium section there. Looks like Raikkonen already got that move done, so Vettel struggling for pace compared to his teammate. Meanwhile, we move back to this fight then between Perez and Ricciardo, and here goes Perez for P3 in the Grand Prix, in the same place he got Bottas. That looks to be his favourite corner at the moment in this Grand Prix, so he makes another overtake on a top man there down that inside on that right-hander, and he's up into P3 to chase after myself and Ocon. Meanwhile, Ricciardo is just going backwards now in this Grand Prix. It's Bottas the right-hand side. Maybe Raikkonen makes it 3 abreast. Yes, he will. It's going to be Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari going 3 wide into turn 1 of a Grand Prix. That is an absolutely awesome sight, and one you don't see too often in real life Formula 1. Great to see. We can see it in the game. And now as Ricciardo and Bottas tangle over each other, it's going to be the Haas of Romain Grosjean that tries to capitalise, and he has done, and he's made a double overtake. So that's a great show for Romain Grosjean to get up the order and just nip down the outside there, as Raikkonen got those 2 places pretty damn easily. And now Vettel still stuck behind the other Haas, it looks like, of Kevin Magnussen. So again, just great stuff for us to see that we're battling for P1. Meanwhile, Vettel's still only down in around P8 or P9, I would say. As now on to lap 8. Eventually, we do catch up to Ocon and have the pace to get DRS on him as we go and try and make a move. We dart to the inside, bit of a dive bomb to be fair, but he gives us the room, so fair play to Ocon, but just unable to make that work, so we have to stick behind him and try and tuck in behind, and it's going to be a bit tricky. Going to have a bit of dirty air, obviously, into the S section, but we'll try our best as we cut back to our POV. You're going to see me lift off completely through the left-hander to really get the nose turned in, as I can feel the dirty air coming into effect, but we've made it work with that much better line, and the lift-off was crucial to get that better racing line through that S section, and so we'll send it down the inside for the last few corners. Close stuff as we enter the heart of the stadium section. The crowd probably roaring as they can see a Force India and Renault going side by side for the lead of this Grand Prix, and the closest Ferrari is in 4th place there, with Perez not too far behind in 3rd, and I can't imagine the scenes if Perez comes up to battle us, and he may just do that as we move on to lap 9 onto the main straight. We've just got ahead of Ocon there, cut him off on the racing line, and there goes Perez then on the left hand side, and Perez up into P2. Will he try and make a move for the lead of the Grand Prix? I've gone defensive to the inside. Raikkonen darting around to the left hand side to maybe try and spoil the party of one of these Force India guys, as my teammate Hulkenberg is into the pits then on lap 9. I believe he was on ultra soft, so fair play. That would kind of seem correct. About 9 to 10 laps the ultra softs will go for around the Grand Grand Prix. Obviously, the Renault car has now received a tyre wear upgrade, so maybe you could go a little bit longer. We'll have to see later on in the Grand Prix, but for now, we hold this P1 and we move on to lap 11. 2 laps later, as we enter the last few corners, Daniel Ricciardo is out of this Grand Prix, and the full safety car has been deployed, and that is literally pin perfect timing for us, because we're only going to go for maybe 2 more laps, lap 13 onto the first pit stop. So 2 laps earlier, the safety car will probably be out for 2 laps, so that's literally perfect timing for the safety car to come out there. But a calamity's there for Daniel Ricciardo, who was going backwards anyway, so maybe that's why he was going backwards in the Grand Prix from lap 1. He's had an issue the entire time, just trying to nurse that home, and obviously unable to nurse it home. So we strap on the set of ultra soft tyres as we were planning to, but now we look at a replay of Daniel Ricciardo. He's tucked up in a bit of a McLaren sandwich there, and it looks like this is where he slows down and just parks it up there. Very unfortunate. Verstappen way down the order as well, so both Red Bulls really struggling in this race, but that's where Ricciardo parked it up, and that's what sprung the full safety car. But now you can see on the restart here, going very, very slowly, really bunching it up. Of course, I can dictate when we go and get going and restart, and I've completely bolted off the last corner, and I think that's got to be the best restart I've ever done on this game on a safety car. I mean, I haven't been in the lead of a Grand Prix too many times when the safety cars come in, but for the few times I have done, I think that's probably my best restart to a race, as we've completely shot away from the Force India. Perez, who's now been overtaken by Kimi Raikkonen down the inside through the first few corners, and Raikkonen up into P2, and now you would imagine he's going to try and chase after myself in P1. As meanwhile, we move on to the next lap. Ocon now trying to spoil Perez's party. There's a huge lock up there for Sergio Perez, and Ocon's been sent wide, and Grosjean now has been opportunistic and nipped it down the inside, and now Romain Grosjean is up into 3rd place. Great stuff for him. He's already made 2 overtakes opportunistic before to overtake the Ferrari and the Mercedes, and now it's a double move on the 2 Force Indias. So Grosjean so far playing this race to a T, and really dragging that Haas car up into places where it really shouldn't be. As now we move on to a fight between myself and Raikkonen now later in the Grand Prix. Raikkonen to the inside, I'm on the outside. This will obviously turn to the inside though of turn 2, so this may work out in our favour. I leave Raikkonen in the room. We go very tight on turn 2, but that's going to open up the next right-hander. Even though we lock up on the front left tyre, we've got a much better exit. We've straightened up the car so much faster than Raikkonen ever did, as he went deep and wide onto the curbing on the left, and that's allowed us to get on the right-hand side to maybe force a move to the outside or turn to the inside for the next part of the corner. It's going to be close stuff there. Raikkonen still on the left-hand side. The proximity area is still in red, and Raikkonen, to be fair to him, tries his hardest to hang around the outside, but eventually he has to give up the position. He tucks in then into the S section, and he's down to P2, and we're back up into the lead of this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, the 2 Force Indias still scrapping away there, so just like real life, Ocon and Perez, you can't separate them, and especially this race long. I mean, so far, the Force Indias have looked awesome. Both of them are still comfortably ahead of both Mercedes cars, so an insane performance for them so far in this Grand Prix. And another insane performance is going to be Romain Grosjean so far in this Grand Prix, as he goes 3 wide with myself and Raikkonen, and he's up into the lead this Grand Prix into turn 1. Romain Grosjean leads the Mexican Grand Prix. Raikkonen P2, we dart to the inside, and oh, look at that. Raikkonen has locked up on the right tyre. He's slammed the gearbox of Grosjean. Surprised he's not lost any of his front wing, actually. I don't believe so, but very lucky there, and escape for Raikkonen, as he just looked like he overcooked it into turn 1. Didn't realise how early maybe the Haas was going to break there. But Grosjean, look at the gap he's already got, and he's comfortably now into the lead. It's yellow flags in the middle of our battle with Kimi, and so we can't overtake him quite yet. It goes green flags now, so we're able to dive it down the inside of him, and we'll try our best to go toe-to-toe with him into the S section. Who's going to have this corner? He's going to have it. We let go of that move to maybe cut in, and just like with Ocon, maybe we can just lift off a little bit earlier, get the nose turned in, try and counteract the dirty air, and try and get a good exit, and that is a good exit indeed. We're up into rich mix now. Maybe we can try and dive down the inside. Yes, we can. Raikkonen leaves the door open, well and truly open for us, so we do go down the inside, but on the exit then Raikkonen cuts us off on the racing line. We're going to have to be a bit patient, but onto this next straight we should have the DRS. Yes, we do. So into turn 1, maybe dive down the inside. No, we don't even need to, as Raikkonen double lock up for him, and he's not only let myself through, but both Force Indias through. Thank you very much, Kimi Raikkonen. So that's going to elevate us up into P2. We'll turn into actually P1 by lap 21. Grosjean is just coming to the pit lane, as well as Hulkenberg. So it's elevated myself into P1, Perez P2 now, and Ocon P3. So the Force India is still going well. I'm still very surprised that the two Mercedes cars that are right on their tails, Bottas and Hamilton, haven't overtaken them so far in this Grand Prix. Only a finite amount of laps left in this Grand Prix, and now Perez has got so much pace on those super softs that he's now trying to send it around the outside of us. I'm actually really taken aback about how much speed he got on that second little back straight there through turn 3. We just didn't get the exit there, and it means we have to now send it down the inside to try and come back at him, and it just wasn't unable to work. And he's got the inside line for the S section. We have to tuck in behind, and just like we did with Ocon, maybe have to go a little bit lifting off here and once again try and get the nose turned in. But alas, the move has been cut off somewhat as the DRS is disabled, and another full safety car is called out. So I think that may be the first time in this game that I've had two full safety cars come out in the same race. We've had it a few times where there's been multiple virtual safety cars coming out and then one safety car, but never two so far. So surprise there. So the FI and Charlie Whiting very trigger happy with the safety car this afternoon. But you can see on the strategy indicator, our default was the soft tyres because the engineer was recommending the soft tyres. I then switched to the super softs, but then last minute I switched it back to soft because I don't know what, for whatever reason, I thought, okay, let's just go soft and go conservative and play it safe because our engineer's telling us that. In hindsight, though, I will admit, looking back at this race, I could have gone to super softs just like Perez has done. But at the same time, Bottas has gone on soft tyres. Hamilton has done as well. But that may just be a case of the Force Indies. We know from previous races the Force Indies are very good on their tyres. But also saying that, we did get a major tyre upgrade this race. So, yeah, kind of fine balance of what I should have gone on. But, you know, I can't change things now. We went onto the soft tyres there for that last stint. But this is why Ericsson then had issues. He already had a puncher on the front right. So he was trying to desperately get back to the pits on 3 full tyres. Had a spin with the McLaren car. That wasn't actually why he why he was actually out of the Grand Prix and why the safety got called out. This is why he had the funniest and stupidest crash with the wall on the left-hand side there. Lost his left tyre and then lost his right tyre on the subsequent wall. So a very odd crash for Ericsson there that called out this safety car. But anyway, we're on the restart now. Lap 23 then, and really getting hampered by Perez there. He just cut across us and brake checked us as we're about to put on the throttle for green flag. So really being hampered there, and Perez and Grosjean bolt away. Grosjean into the lead of this Grand Prix once again after all of us made our pit stop, but not for too long, as now Sergio Perez in the slipstream of the Frenchman moves to the left, and Grosjean to the inside, of course, to defend the inside line. That'll turn to the outside for turn 3 eventually though, so probably a better place to be perhaps, as Perez though is quite a bit ahead, but Grosjean keeps his nose in there. A little bit of contact and tyre smoke coming off. There's 2 made contact for the lead of this race, but I can't believe still we have to recognise this is Sergio Perez and Romain Grosjean fighting for the lead of this Grand Prix. So that was absolutely great to see. In the end though, was no use, and Perez did get it with that straight line speed off turn 3, and eventually by lap 31 it took us a fair few laps to actually catch up to Grosjean, but eventually we are right there in the DRS now with Rich Mix as well. And you can see there's a bit of an odd sheen on the track, just like there was in Q3. It's almost like there's a little bit of a rain and humidity in the air here now at Mexico, with only 4 laps to go now in this Grand Prix. But either way, we've got DRS wide open on the left hand side. Grosjean outbrakes us completely though, because I go way too conservative on the brakes, so I'm just not too sure. There definitely is a lack of grip at the moment. I mean, definitely you can tell on the track surface that it's not exactly the same conditions as was a little bit a while ago. So I went a bit more conservative into turn 1. It doesn't matter in the end, but because we get the switchback move into turn 3, and we're up into P2 now, as Raikkonen is the one trying to spoil Grosjean's party, and for now Grosjean stays in P3. So that will be a fabulous podium of Perez, myself and Grosjean if it ends like this, as we're going a little bit lower fuel, so have to watch out for the fuel at the moment. But now we move on to a battle between my teammate Hulkenberg and Vettel. We haven't seen too much of the German, our rival in the championship, since the beginning of this Grand Prix. Of course, he was stuck behind in P8 and P9. It looks like, looking at this, pretty much his fortunes haven't changed. He's been stuck in this traffic the entire race long, finding himself behind Ocon, behind the 2 Mercedes cars, and now going side by side with Hulkenberg still on the exit. Hulkenberg does amazing to hang it on the outside of the last turn and down the straight, both of them with DRS and onto the Toro Rosso as well, maybe getting into the action. They may go 3 wide, actually, it may look like. As Sainz, I think this is down the inside. Yes, they will. 3 abreast into turn 1. Vettel may get pinched here into the inside. It's sandwiched in between them. Hulkenberg to the left-hand side around the outside of turn 3, and there's a bit of contact between Vettel and the Toro Rosso car there, and Vettel trying desperately to fend off Hulkenberg, but it's no use. Nico has got it, and he's overtaken Vettel, so thank you very much, Nico, my teammate, doing whatever, the maximum I could ever ask of a teammate, really, and overtaking my main championship rival and helping me out in that regard. And meanwhile, later, literally a lap or 2 later, I think this is, it's going to be Felipe Massa now. We know the one thing the Williams car can do still after the patch is be good in a straight line down the inside. DRS open there, and he goes and nips it to the inside of turn 1 into turn 2. He's already got the place pretty much, shoves Vettel off on the left hand side, and Vettel can't do anything but nip back behind the slipstream of Massa. And at the same time, it's not over there because the Toro Rosso fancies it, and he's going to go around the outside. Sainz, this is to the outside, turns to the inside for the next corner, and Vettel now is bottling this race completely. He must have issues. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for sure. He's got to have car issues. He can't be just doing this poorly when his teammate Raikkonen is in P4 trying to get P3 off Grosjean, but Vettel tries to defend from Sainz. No use for him, and he's behind now, and that is him out of the points. He's in P11 now with no points to show for it at the Mexican Grand Prix. This has literally been a perfect scenario for us to be on the podium and for him to be out of the points. And so we take it to the end. We're in a really solid P2 that will hand us 18 points after this race is over as we go through the final few corners. Raikkonen sends it to the inside to maybe spoil Grosjean's party. Yes, he has done with 2-3 corners to go. Raikkonen just about snatches, just like he did the Japanese Grand Prix, a late 3rd place there on the podium. But the biggest story this afternoon, forget about myself, forget about Raikkonen and Grosjean, it's Sergio Perez who has won his home Grand Prix here in front of the Mexican fans. Sergio Perez is a Grand Prix winner here. Absolutely fabulous drive. This Force India has been on steroids this entire race long. Unlucky for Ocon not to be up there. I think he had a very poor strategy on the safety car, but Sergio Perez comes through to win his home Grand Prix here at the Mexican Grand Prix in Mexico City. Absolutely wonderful stuff for him. 25 points for him. That's a huge deal for the Force India team. Their first win, of course, there in the 2017 career mode. Fabulous stuff there. But we get P2. As I said, that's 18 points. The gap was 3 points, so that's going to mean we're going to be 15 points ahead in the Drivers' World Championship. That is absolutely awesome. With 2 rounds to go, that's perfect. Takes a little bit of pressure off me. Of course, Vettel's still in a Ferrari car. He's still in the best car on the grid pretty much. So it's still maybe probably in his favour. This just takes a little bit of pressure off me. And you must say, with the way we've been driving the last few rounds, I think we can try. We've now got a really, really great chance to take this to the end and get this championship. For the constructors, as I've said for a while now, comfortably in P3, and Force India, with that win, actually overtake Red Bull. So I've said that so many times at the beginning of this season that Red Bull actually had to worry about Force India more than us in the Renault team. And there you go. In hindsight now, it's actually wonderful and great and a kind of relief that I didn't go to Red Bull, because how far have they fallen now? They're behind Force India now. They're in P5 in the standings. That's a really great thing that I didn't actually end up going to them, and I stuck it out with Renault. So guys, if you have enjoyed that episode, smash that like button for Sergio Perez winning his home Grand Prix and myself getting up into the lead at the Drivers' World Championship. I think that maybe deserves us trying to target over 3,000 likes once again, guys. So try and smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.